Good evening, everyone. It is now 6 p.m. May 1st regular council meetings will now come to order. Please stand as Councilmember Natera presents the invocation.
Father, please gift us with your wisdom and discernment in every challenge we face. Help us to be humble, but willing to step in and act to right or wrong. Please show us how to make peace and bring harmony in the midst of chaos and injustice. Remind us that we are not powerless in the midst of trouble. Please help us to see that you are always working through our circumstances in our lives, even when our situations are less than the ideal we hope and pray for. May we find the courage to speak up in the moments we find ourselves in the midst of a difficult assignment. Give us the discernment to make our case with wisdom and humility, and to trust you with the outcome. Amen.
Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Patty, will you please call the roll?
Councilmember Frank Baker.
Present.
Councilmember Belinda Livingstone.
Present.
Councilmember Leslie Otero.
Present.
Councilmember Lloyd Roberts.
Here.
Councilmember Mike Zabel.
Here.
Vice Mayor Jody Shirley. Here. Mayor Dave Gaddis.
Here.
City Manager Kyle Leifler.
Here.
And City Attorney Randy Moore.
Present. Thank you, Patty. Our first order of business is approval of the agenda, but I would like to add one item or insert one item into the consent agenda as item 13B, the proclamation of May being Lupus Awareness Month. Do I have a motion to amend the agenda?
Motion.
Motion made by Frank Baker. Do I have a second?
Second.
I'll give that to Councilmember Livingstone. All in favor?
Aye.
All right. Any opposed? All right. The agenda is amended. Do I have a motion to approve the agenda as amended?
Motion.
Motion made by Frank Baker.
Second.
Second by Leslie Otero. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. The agenda is approved. Now we move to citizen comments. Any citizen would like to address the council about a topic not already on the agenda, please raise your hand, wait to be called on, and we ask that you limit your comments to no more than 3 minutes. Would anyone like to speak? Yes, Ms. Clerk.
Mayor, City Manager, council members, and citizens of Bel Air Beach.
Let me pause you for 1 second before you start your time. Would you please give us your name and your...
Oh, Kathleen Glazer, and I live on 21st Street, 106 21st Street. I know all of you. Okay. Today I'm going to discuss geoengineering and its effect on clean air. I've provided a 2-page explanation of this to our city. You can get a copy from our city clerk. I am advocating for clean air above all. Without all of us breathing, all projects at Bel Air Beach become worthless. We won't be here. I could not get this information to you in 3 minutes allotted. Please request a copy. Why is it important to understand how geoengineering, global warming, and globalist goals are affecting our air to recover our health and the health of our planet? Many of you may not know that it will take 3 years for all the particulate matter dispersed into our atmosphere through chemical aerial dispersion or geoengineering to settle to the earth. If all geoengineering is stopped immediately, you may also be surprised to know that we had 3 major volcanic eruptions within the last 2 weeks. March 28th in Papua New Guinea, March 27th in Japan, and currently an ongoing volcano in Vanuatu. These natural eruptions will cause sulfur dioxide spinning around the atmosphere for approximately 1.5 years. Sulfur dioxide is also used in geoengineering to dim the sun and cool the planet. The geoengineering plus natural infusion of sulfur dioxide into our atmosphere through volcanoes will cause greater dimming of the sun, causing even lower temperatures worldwide, leading to food production failure. Undulations in temperature and humidity will fast-track crop failures and food shortages as plants struggle to survive. Please look at the website Adapt 2030. That'll give a lot of good information on this information. It is more important now than ever to stop geoengineering. We are more fortunate than most states in that we only have our northern border shared with other states. If we stop aerial dispersions now, most of our state can start healing quicker in those states that are landlocked. Global warming is a farce. It will be used as a lie to cover up what's coming. We are in the solar max of our 11-year solar cycle. We had 5 more years of warmth before we head into a normal, natural, cooler solar cycle. Watch for the weaponizing of these lies, propaganda coming your way to cover crop failures and global cooling. Now that the Earth will be cooling faster than expected, what do they do with their global warming narrative now? Please review the references I provided in the speech. These were items I was going to talk about, and you'll have to get my speech to know what they're about. But I would help anybody in the city of Bel Air Beach with looking at radio frequencies and 5G. We need to do that. Thank you. God bless America.
Thank you, Ms. Glazer. Would any other citizens like to speak? Yes.
Hi, my name is Lou Durham. I live on 13th Street. I just wanted you all to know that this board paid, or we as citizens paid, to correct a flooding problem that we've had since we moved in 2017, and it's fixed. It's fixed. All that money, all that mess, all the work that this board and former boards did has worked. We haven't been through a hurricane yet, but with all the storm that was coming in recently from the east, not a problem. It all went down the sewer and out. So, thank you from the bottom of our hearts. It took forever, but it worked. Thank you.
Ms. Durham, I appreciate it. Any other comments from the council? Yes, we have one.
Tammy Lavenda, 97 Harbor Drive. I'm up here today on behalf of the Bel Air Beach Community Foundation once again. As a lot of you know, we had our first fundraiser last Saturday, Sunset Social on Earth Day. I'd like to thank a lot of you for attending. I'd like to thank the sponsors and for all of you who helped us reach our goal to replace the kayak launch on 16th Street. So we are very proud and very thankful for everyone for their contributions, and we hope that everyone had a great time. The city is working on the final details of the kayak launch, and as soon as those are completed, it will be installed. So thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Ms. Lucinda. Any other comments from the citizens? No? All right. Move on to item 3, which is a law enforcement report from the Pinellas County Sheriff's Department.
Good evening, Sergeant Switch, Pinellas County Sheriff's Office. The activity tonight I'm presenting is going to be for the month of March 2023. Under the UCR Property and Person Crimes Report, I'm happy to report that the only documented activity is one assault, which was domestic related. Under arrest, there was only one subject arrested within the city, and that was for a warrant. Under deputy activity, you can see there were a total of 649 events in the city, leading that, as always, the record patrols, traffic enforcement, and parking enforcement. Next, there was one crash within the city that occurred at Gulf and Causeway, and I will circle back to that. There were a total of 147 citations and warnings issued. Touching on the crash that was at Gulf Boulevard and Causeway Boulevard, Last month, if you'll remember, I was asked whether or not, if I could determine the causation of that crash at that particular intersection. I did look it up, and it looks like it was distracted driving. It was a 3-vehicle crash. They were trying to turn north, coming from westbound on Causeway to turn north on Gulf. And the last vehicle in line struck the vehicle in front, which subsequently struck the vehicle in front. Other than that, that is it.
Thank you, Sergeant. Do we have any questions or comments from the council? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right, next up, code enforcement report.
Good evening, Deputy Steve Clappy for the record. Commissioners, Mayor, again, we had another active month with some of these code enforcement violations. As you can see on your sheets, that the biggest one we're still having a problem with is dealing with contractors, permits, and unlicensed individuals. There's still a few of them that I am following up on through the building department along with the construction licensing board. The other event that we had was the short-term rental. Just this past week, we had a hearing, again, on 2 different violations at the same residence, and we have another one coming up in this Thursday at that same residence. Other than that, that's my report, and I'll stand for any questions.
Thank you, Deputy. Do we have any questions for the deputy? You're doing a great job.
Thank you, sir. You all have a great evening. Thank you very much. Thank you.
All right, next up, we have the presentation from the Pinellas Suncoast Fire and Rescue District. That will be Chief Davis.
Good evening, everyone. I wanted to give you the monthly report and tell you I was at the fundraiser, the kayak launch fundraiser, and what a great time. I'm glad to see that they raised the money that they needed for that, but what a great time. Thank you very much. In the month of April, we had 15 calls for emergency services into Bel Air Beach. I know that I talked to you before that I'm working diligently on getting an additional fire department unit that's fully staffed, fully funded by the county at no additional cost to our taxpayers. These taxpayers already pay that money, and I'm asking for the county to fund that unit, and my plan is to move a truck to be here, closer here, to service Bel Air Beach. So I had one meeting last week with the county, I have one tomorrow, and then one at the end of May, and I really urge you to write to your MSAC committee, Emergency Services Advisory Council, and write to your county commissioners. This is the time of year that they make budget decisions, and it gets pushed up to the county commissioners. And this enhancement is a dire need to better serve our communities. So I urge you to do that. On June 8th, 2023, we are hosting, right here in Bel Air Beach, we are hosting a Hurricane and Water Safety Expo. So, you should have a flyer in front of you, but there's some flyers in the back there as well. And it's June 8th, 2023, from 1 to 6 p.m. We'll have some vendors here. They're going to do life jacket giveaways, beach and boat safety information. You meet your local firefighters. There'll be a couple of meteorologists, one from Channel 10, Tampa Bay, and one from Bay News 9. And the Pinellas Suncoast Professional Firefighters Union will be hosting a cookout out here until supplies last. And I guess it'd be burgers and hot dogs and things like that. And we're also planning to do a demonstration with our fireboat here, our Marine Rescue Unit. And that is scheduled for 2:30, but the schedule's on the back of the flyer. Flyers are up on the table there, and we hope to have a great day with you all.
Thank you, Chief. Do we have any questions or comments for Chief Davis? The council's very quiet tonight. I have a, yes. Over here.
Way down here on the end.
Lloyd Roberts.
So, just a quick question on the cookout. Will that start? That's very important to me. Will that start at 1 o'clock, or do you know?
I do not know. That part is sponsored by the union,
Okay.
but sure I find out. Any special requests, like what time you like to eat there, sir?
Not really, just continuous.
All right, continuous, all right. Well, it says while supplies last, but I will find out exactly what time they're gonna cook out,
Thank you, Chief.
and I'll let you know.
All right.
And you can see where Councilmember Roberts' priorities. I did have a couple of questions for you. This morning, there was a golf cart that somehow caught on fire. First off, do you know anything about how that fire started? And it's a two-part question. And then the second part, I noticed that the truck was coming from Largo that came in to service that fire. So can you give us some details?
Yes, I can. That was just after 8 o'clock this morning. It was in the 24th Avenue, Indian Rocks Beach in Northern End. And the call came in as just a golf cart smoking. And it was I was actually driving in and I thought it was a lot more than a golf cart on fires, you know, a lot of thick black smoke pouring across, and until we get there and decide what's, you know, determine what's on fire, you know, we ask for more people. It looked like possibly a building. A lot of times vehicles will catch on fire inside a garage or next to another car, things like that. So, so I was the first one there, but I just happened to be on the road. The engine from Station 27, they're first due to that area, but they were out. So the second due to that area is Clearwater's 44, which is on Sand Key. So they were coming, and when I was about a half a mile away, I could see so much black smoke, which is an indicator there's something burning, that I had asked for additional units. And they dispatched the rest of the units as if we were responding to a structure fire, which is a total of 15 more people. So that might be what you saw when Largo was coming across the bridge, was that fire response. But then when I got there, I could see it was the golf cart that was fully involved. They had caught the power pole on fire. You know, we called the power company out to make sure the pole's safe and everything. But as far as the cause, hasn't been determined. Most likely it was from somewhere in the batteries there, you know, a charging issue. It wasn't plugged in, it was just sitting there in like the public beach access, somebody put it in there.
All right.
Is it electric or gas?
No, that was battery operated. Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
All right, the only other comment I have, or actually request, is I noticed that you gave us some statistics on emergency services that were provided in the city of LRD. Is there any way that you could maybe provide us with those, like give them the email tag?
Absolutely.
Before the meeting, so we can kind of look them over. I think we, normally our meetings are on Monday, and we shut down incoming documentation for the agendas on Wednesday.
Absolutely.
We appreciate it.
And I'm happy to share that with you, and then happy to explain everything, how they come up with those numbers and what everything means.
All right, any other questions or comments for the fire chief? All right, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, next up, did Mr. Blanton make it? Okay, we were expecting a presentation from the Pinellas County Metropolitan Planning Organization Membership Reapportionment Plan with Blanton. Okay, what I'm going to request is that we table this one and then bring it back up if it comes in. If that's okay with the council, continue on. All right, item 6, presentation. Where is the presentation? Yeah.
This is it, yeah. Kyle is going to accept it, are you going to accept it?
That was the plan.
Yeah,
Heather's not here now, she's
and I,
on.
yeah, I don't have a actual certificate other than that.
That will work.
Okay.
like City Manager Reaper to meet me at podium. I have to give this one back to council member. So what I have here is an award of financial reporting achievement. It's presented to the Finance Department, City of Bel Air Beach, by the Government Finance Officers Association of the United States and Canada. What that means is that we're doing everything right, and we're not failing any audits. We're doing everything to a standard that's the highest standard you can get for a municipality. So congratulations to City Manager Reaper and the rest of the city staff and our accounting firm. Thank you very much. All right, item 7, City Attorney's Report. Mr. Moore, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Good evening, all of you. As far as legal updates, we'll start with the legislative session. We have about 4 days left of the legislative session, and hopefully be a little less tense, at least for me. We're continuing to monitor a number of pieces of legislation. I emailed you this weekend about Senate Bill 774 on financial disclosures. I'm not totally clear how to read where that is. On the Senate side, it unequivocally passed the Senate. Its House corollary says that there's an indication it was laid on the table, but then it says reference the Senate bill substitute. So I can't tell if that means when something's laid on the table for the House, that means it's equivalent to voting it down, especially at this stage in the legislature. I can't tell if they're saying the House version has been laid on the table and we're now proceeding on the substitute, or if the House isn't moving on this. It'd be kind of surprising for how overwhelmingly it passed in the Senate to not see something in the House. I suspect it's the former, as I advised over the weekend, that they're just proceeding on the Senate version, but I will of course let you know, continuing to track that. Another bill that was of interest to one of the members here specifically was Senate Bill 154 and its House corollary 1395 on the condo bills. And that was the condo inspections and sort of, depending on how you look at that, making it more flexible in light of the different needs of condominium communities across the state. That has been laid on the table in the House. It doesn't look like that will be passing this session. One bill that's gained a lot of attention in this immediate area is Senate Bill 714. Senate Bill 714 has to do with the regulation of short-term rentals. It passed the Senate late last week. Senate Bill 714 makes it is being characterized publicly as giving tools to local governments to regulate short-term rentals. I think I spoke to this at some length last month. I would say that anything different than you have home rule powers for everything except these 3 things, we're already under the impression we have those tools, we don't need this. And once you start listing them, it suggests everything else is off the table. It did pass the Senate. It is going before the House. If it's going, it is in messages to the House. The House is not here today that I'm aware of, though. We're still tracking the session, so things can change moment to moment. That bill is of less import here. I don't want to get everybody freaking out. You have regulations and restrictions for short-term rentals that predate June of 2011, which is a magic date in this legal regime. And the reason that magic date exists, it dates back to they passed the first version of this preemption in the 2011 session and said as long as it exists before June 2011, you can keep it. And they've kept that construct. There have been a few efforts over the years to even take that away. That did not come up this session. So it shouldn't be of terrible impact here as long as we don't go tinkering with our short-term rental restrictions. But you can see that the concern is in a lot of your other beach communities that may not be in that, or communities across border that may not be in that same position. As indicated, this bill passed the Senate. There was strong indication during the session during which it passed that Senate leadership was behind this. Where leadership has supported something, it seems more indicative that it's likely to pass, especially again, given the numbers this session, with one party being in power and the governor being with that same party. It seems, especially now that there's a push, a lot of the front end, the first month of session has been publicly characterized as the legislature largely passing much of the governor's requests and initiatives legislatively. This last 2 or 3 weeks has been the legislature playing catch up and getting their initiatives out. Even if something passes the House and the Senate, as you all know, it still needs the governor's signature. I'm not sure, he hasn't articulated anything that he would explicitly be vetoing this session. That doesn't mean he won't do it, we just don't know what those things are. All of that to say, session ends Friday. We'll know better at least what has the possibility of being signed. There is not a hard timeline, it's this weird thing. Once they pass the House and Senate, they go to the governor's desk. He doesn't have to sign them all by like May 15th or June 1st. Last year we were waiting in July to see if some things would be signed. In fact, I remember talking to Member Shirley while I was at a continuing education course, and we were saying at that course, we're still waiting to see if he's going to sign some bill. So it is entirely possible that after session ends, there will still be a little bit of a guessing game on where things are going to lie, but given the governor's current public profile, it seems he's going to be eager to show that he's getting things done, moving them along. There were a few bills signed as recently as this afternoon. So that's where we stand on the legislative session. Something that has been brought up either in my report or otherwise over the last few months is the matter of the property with the radio antenna tower. I exchanged correspondence with their attorney just this afternoon. On April 13th, he sent some correspondence indicating he intended to have it done by the end of the month. Today being May 1st, I said, we've abated code enforcement in reliance on this. Where do you stand? He said it'll be submitted Wednesday. There was a technical issue given the volume of the document and transmitting it. It's going to have a propagation study. He says it should be roughly 80 pages of submission, so it will be substantive. It won't be a hand-drawn thing and 2 sheets of paper. And of course, the staff will have to review that and make sure that it, see what. I just can't speak to what the result of that would be because it has to go through review. But that is where we stand. We should have that submission this week, likely by Wednesday. Other than that, I'm happy to answer any questions you have. I don't have anything else that I need to communicate at this time.
Council?
I just want to thank you for pushing that issue of the permit. It's been up now for over a year. And I did some research on it myself. I can't find any of those towers that would be wind resistant over 90 miles per hour. I'm not there to look at the permit or anything like that, but I appreciate you keeping on this, and I hope it holds speed to the fire.
And I know you sent some information to that effect, and of course we will look to that as a resource as staff conducts its review once we have the documents, and there may be follow-up questions if there are.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments? City Attorney. I appreciate all the updates. It sort of looks like Bel Air Beach is a minority as far as the thinking on short-term rentals and what's going on. It's little towns here and there that are in a unique position like we are, where we're in our grandfathering. But whenever I attend the various meetings around the county, there's very few people like us in Pinellas County.
I think you're in the minority based on your posture in having some kind of, having that grandfather protection, because again, that industry really began to emerge. Airbnb's pilot program was, I believe it was the Democratic National Convention, apart from a few trade shows back in 2008. And so, that was really a nascent industry, and government doesn't typically respond to tech that quickly. That is to say that, yes, there are not a lot of communities outside of, unless you're like a Key West, where this is your whole industry and you're trained to regulate this. But I think you're in the majority of communities in Florida who don't understand why you're being told how to regulate your local community and being told that however you choose to do that, whether it's to open the floodgates or otherwise, that should be defined by the state. You know, I think that there's been the history of Florida on Home Rule going back to 1968 and the character that it's developed community to community throughout the state. It's the reason why Anna Maria is different than Bella Beach, is different than Juno Beach. That's how that evolves. But once you make those uniform regulations, it makes it a lot more difficult for this place to have quiet charm, and this place to be where you go for the resort. And so I think you're in the majority of cities or municipalities who would just wish to preserve the status quo of being able to regulate as you see fit.
Would you consider 714 bait instead of a solution?
I'm sorry, would I consider it, what was the verb?
Bait.
Bait? Sorry, that term invokes something else in my mind. I would say that I would consider 714 to be masquerading as something that's not.
All right, fair enough. That's all I have. Thank you very much. All right, let's move on to item 8, City Manager Report. Mr. Weaver.
Mayor, start off with the undergrounding project. As you've probably seen, we have a whole bunch of conduit rolls and conduit pipe at the city marina on the southern end. They're trying to tuck it away for the storage of the project. We have all the materials except for the 4-inch conduit rolls, which is actually the majority of things to be installed on the project. Got a correspondence with the contractor today, noticed that it would be delivered this week. If so, I'll get official, declaration that they'll be what date they'll be starting. I'll pass that along to you. So that's exciting because once we have the materials, I know they'll get going and they'll be moved through rather quickly. The stormwater improvement projects. That was the last meeting. We got the note approved to cover the remaining BMPs of the stormwater master plan. That is an agenda item that is on the regular agenda. The children's playground replacement, as you can see, it's been removed. The old playground, we actually received $300 for it. The used playgrounds company actually gave us a check. It was good that we removed it because the support poles on it were very rusted and those couldn't be utilized. So they did give us some money for what it was worth to them. The new playground should be coming this week. It has a installer set up to receive the delivery, and they should be able to get it in pretty quickly, so we'll finally get that done. Personnel policy, I got that back from the consultant, doing some review, edits, answering some questions, and then I will pass it along to Mr. Mora's legal firm to review, to make sure it's where it needs to be as far as employment law goes. Grant policy, that was on the city manager's goals. I would like to bring it to the next work session. We're going to add administrative policy, get council's input on that. As a reminder, I have the FCCMA conference to attend. Will be Memorial Day week, which is Tuesday through Thursday, so that's May 30th through June 2nd. And some other notes I made. We installed the park mobile system, and it's operational during the transition period. We shut down the meters, the physical meters, and put some signs on it to direct the customers to use Park Mobile. And I believe that was on a Wednesday. And then the first weekend, we did over $4,000 worth of sales. So people were using it. The first 2 weeks, I recommended to the deputies that we do not ticket if they have not paid. We got all these little wallet cards that was provided by Park Mobile to give them a warning and give them a how-to wallet card, to ease the transition. Last week wasn't a good example. I tried to pull numbers on that too. I believe we only did about $400, but in the letter was explainable. So the staff actually started to remove physical meters today. sort of the slab that we're going to softly fix, so we're trying to come up with a creative solution to get that one out of there. But I've been in contact with the Flowbirds company that we bought those from, and hopefully get those sold back to get some money removed from them. The ARPA money, we did our first report, and we reported the use of this $753,000 of the 802,000. So that has been reported. The remaining money will go towards whatever more expenses we have in the stormwater account. But just to let you know that that has been reported because we have to do that throughout the year. The city, with the help of the Citizens Advisory Committee Chair, Ron Saganik, is entertaining switching banks to Valley, which is over the bridge, if you're familiar with before the gas station on the left. They're offering 50 bonus points above the target Fed fund for the interest, which is much better than we're getting from tourists we're currently with. And they're also not going to charge us any banking fees. And we currently, on a monthly basis, $100 or $200 worth of fees that we don't have to pay anymore. So Heather and I are going to go to the branch and meet with them on Friday. If everything looks good, we'll probably be asking for signature cards from you guys to get transferred over. And we'll do it over time so that we have accounts open in both places to ease the transition. And Heather is working on putting the budget together to deliver back to me. I believe our calendar says either the 12th or the 13th. But I'd like, once I have the budget, to distribute it to you guys and have some meetings, one-on-ones, to talk it over. What I'm planning on doing this year before we have our first budget meeting. So
Thanks for the detailed report. Questions or comments from the city manager?
Is there a second page to the city manager's report that?
there is no second page this time.
Okay, the rest of it was just sort of off.
Yeah,
Sorry.
Park Mobile, I didn't put it as an actual project, and it was just more reporting.
Other questions? Yes, Mr. Baker.
The increase, is it supposed to, I thought it was supposed to go into effect like midnight or 12:01 a.m. Friday morning, $5 to $10 an hour? Or is that set?
No, that was set by resolution.
Right.
So when we made the transition to Park Mobile, I had it set up with the new fees. We have the second reading of the fines ordinance changing. So that, if passes tonight, it will be in effect. And then my plan was to actually start taking this week after that ordinance has been passed.
But I guess the simple question is Friday after, I forget the hours of the gate free parking here, is it go to $10 or does it stay?
Oh, I'm sorry, the rate change, that is weekends and holidays. So Friday is $5 an hour, and then Saturday, Sunday, and holidays is $10.
I was here picking my book Friday night, I punched it in, it was still $5. I thought it was, I thought we were going to go to $10.
I did not, I had weekends and
I think
holidays.
it was Friday. All right, thank you. It's still.
Whatever it is, it might not be a bad idea to have the rates published on the website, just so that we,
Okay.
Any other questions or comments before we see? Okay. Thank you very much, Mr. Reaper.
Thank you.
All right, you're up to item 9, city clerk's report. Gentry, you got it.
This is just a quick recap of April, which seems like so long ago. The city yard sale, that was, pretty, went off really well. City Attorney Mora gave us Government in the Sunshine, which that was well attended. Now, people were thankful for that. We had a flood insurance workshop that gave up updates on flood insurance here in the council chambers. The mayor And council gave their luncheon to thank all the board, committee, and foundation members. And the committee members of the foundation and the board, they were all very appreciative. They were very appreciative. They expressed that. And the audit committee annual comprehensive financial report, the final meeting on that should be May 3rd. They hope that that will be their final meeting. And then the planning and zoning comprehensive plan review, their final meeting will probably be the 9th. And that's okay.
Any questions or comments for the city clerk? All right, thank you very much, Ms. Gentry, I appreciate it. All right. All right, up next is item 10. This is consideration of ordinance 23-02. This is the second reading. Mr. Mora?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This is ordinance 23-02, an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Bel Air Beach, Florida, amending section 58-38, fines and procedures to increase the fines associated with parking violations, providing for codification, severability, and for an effective date. This has been a second and final reading of ordinance 23-02 by title only.
Thank you, Mr. Mora. Before we go to the council, I would like to open the floor to the citizens. Would anyone like to speak on this topic? Okay, the citizen comments are closed. Before we open discussion, I'm going to need a motion to approve ordinance 23-02. Do I have a motion? Motion made by Frank Baker. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Leslie Natero. Mr. Baker, do you have a floor?
Well, as noted during the first reading, I stated that the current fine is only $35, and I just noted that we raised the parking fees. I thought it was up Friday too, with $10 per hour, so it made no sense to keeping at $35. Because we park all day for $35, and our time now is only 3 hours. So even though the fines are still a little bit low in my opinion, I hope this motion passes.
Thank you, Mr. Baker. Do we have any other comments or questions? All right, Mr. Baker, I'm going to give you one last word if you'd like. All right. So, Patty, has this ordinance been noticed in publication?
Yes, sir.
Great. In that case, let's take it to a vote. Patty, would you please call the roll?
Councilmember Baker?
Yes.
Councilmember Livingstone?
Yes.
Councilmember Notero?
Yes.
Councilmember Roberts?
Aye.
Councilmember Sable?
Aye.
Vice Mayor Shirley?
Aye.
Mayor Gaddis?
Aye. So the ordinance passes unanimously. And that's ordinance 23-02. All right, so now we are on to the consent agenda. Items 11 through 13B. This is for approval of April 3rd, 2023 City Council meeting minutes. This is to authorize the city manager to execute an interlocal agreement between Pinellas County and local governments for the cooperative procurement, and dental work today, bear with me, procurements of disaster debris collection and removal services and disaster debris monitoring and management services within geographic Pinellas County. Also, a proclamation recognizing this week as the 54th Annual Professional Municipal Clerks Week, and a proclamation recognizing the month of May as Lupus Awareness Month. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, the consent agenda passes, but I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to break out this proclamation concerning the Professional Municipal Clerks Week, because I think we have a wonderful clerk, and this deserves to be read. So even though it's already official, I'm going to go ahead and read it to everyone right quick. This is a proclamation of the 54th Annual Professional Municipal Clerks Week. It's April 30th through May the 6th, 2023. Whereas the office of the Professional Municipal Clerk, a time-honored and vital part of local government, exists throughout the world, and whereas the office of the Professional Municipal Clerk is the oldest among public servants, and whereas The office of the professional municipal clerk provides the professional link between citizens, the local governing bodies, and agencies of government at other levels. And whereas professional municipal clerks have pledged to be ever mindful of their neutrality and impartiality, rendering equal services to all. Whereas the professional municipal clerk serves as the as the information center on functions of local government and community. Whereas professional municipal clerks continually strive to improve the administration of the affairs of the office of the professional municipal clerk through participation in education programs, seminars, workshops, and the annual meetings of their state, provincial, county, and international professional organizations. Whereas it is most appropriate that we recognize the accomplishments of the office of the professional municipal clerk. Now therefore, I, Dave Gaddis, Mayor of the City of Bel Air Beach, do recognize the week of April 30th through May 6th, 2023 as Professional Municipal Clerks Week, and further extend appreciation to our professional municipal clerk, Patricia Gentry, and to all professional municipal clerks for the vital services they perform and their exemplary dedication to the communities they represent, dated this first day of May 2023. Thank you. Now we are on to item number 4. I'm sorry. Yes.
Yeah, it's okay. I'd like to make just a quick comment on the great job our city manager did in whatever he did in our city in the interlocal agreement with Pinellas County and the debris cleanup. And the reason for that is how important it is. If we were to do that on our own, I have seen from a history standpoint that regardless of the agreement you may have with companies out there, when it comes time, even though you have a signed agreement in place, they're going to go typically for the highest paid options available. The fact that this is with Pinellas County and a much larger group and all the cities that have signed it as well, less likely to happen. So this is a great idea, and I think that positions the city very well for being able to have those services provided if and when we ever need them. So good job, thanks.
Thank you, Mr. Roberts. All right, we are now on to item 14. This is for authorization to execute a purchase order with Gemini Engineering and Sciences Incorporated for Stormwater Master Drainage Plan, DEMs. This was placed on the agenda by City Manager Reed. Mr. Reed.
Thank you, Mayor. So this is for authorization to execute a purchase order with Gemini Engineering and Sciences Incorporated. This is to complete the design and engineering services for Stormwater Master Plan updated in 2016. The remaining BMPs, which stands for Best Management Practices for the drainage program. It would be numbers 6, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, and 14. It addresses the streets in those areas, which is 9th Street, Harbor Drive, Cedar Drive, Spruce Drive, Palm Drive, 14th Street, 15th Street, 16th Street, 17th Street, 18th Street, 19th Street, 20th Street, 21st Street, 23rd Street, 24th Street, 25th Street, and Morgan Drive. The amount of the PO to be executed is $360,000 and $374. So, a little history. Like I said, the master drainage plan was updated in 2016. Since then, there were 15 BMPs. We prioritized 8 of those 15 have been completed. The last council meeting on April 3rd, we approved the note to provide funding to complete the additional 7 BMPs. Since then, I presented the project scope to all 6 engineering firms that we signed agreements with from our RFQ put out, I believe, December. I told them that the timeline I'd like to hit was to have the complete 100% construction plans and technical specifications ready for competitive bidding by August 15th. Of those 6, I heard back confirmation from 4 that they could meet that timeline. Of those 4, I selected Gemini Engineering and Sciences, which is actually, it came out to be our highest range from the RFQ. This project is going to include repairing and or replacing stormwater pipes and inlet structures. It's going to replace all the valley curbing and resurfacing of the pavement on all those streets I mentioned earlier. I also have included the lining of the pipe segments from the closest inlet to the seawall on 12th Street and 13th Street, which for the last project, it was determined that needed to be done in the future. We thought it would get a better cost line, pricing, I guess I should say, for doing the lining along this project, because I'm sure there's going to be some other lining that is going to need design. It's important to note that Gemini Engineering Sciences is going to reanalyze each BMP and design plans to best address the deficiencies that the city has. And we want to achieve the highest benefit to cost ratio, so we want to be putting the most biggest impact. I started drafting the work authorization agreement for this job based on the proposal, which I've included the engineering sciences incorporated proposal, the BMP project maps from the stormwater master plan, as well as the continuing contract with professional services that was signed. And I made a note that the COI will be updated quickly it expires.
Thank you for the description of this contract. And before we go to the council, we're going to go to the citizens. Would anyone like to comment on this project? Yes.
John Hansick, 22nd Street. I'm assuming that the sewer was lined, which would be on the south side of the median recently, because that's what they were doing. Now, going back a little bit, when they did work back there in Bel Air Island Estates, they paved from the bridge to Gulf Boulevard, both sides of the median. And I remember having a conversation with Mr. Glenn Reeves about the damaged valley curbing between Bayshore and Gulf, but that would be replaced at such time as they got up towards that end of the city. I just was glancing through there and I see nothing that indicates there's any consideration for replacing damaged valley curbing. And I have a significant amount in front of my property. And I'm sure there's others between Bayshore and Gulf. So my question is, was 22nd Street omitted or is it included in this bid?
So we're still doing the design phase, so that is something that we can look into, and if, while doing the other curbing, it would be the ideal time to replace what needs to be done there. Given that the street has already been resurfaced, there's, won't be as neat, but I will have that looked at.
Thank you, Mr. Hansick. Ms. Stewart?
I'm Lou Durham again. I don't understand construction or anything of what you're talking about, but I heard 12th and 13th Street still needs something done to seal the, that's my question.
Okay, so towards the end of the project, we did inspections on the pipes that were run between the homes that were, you couldn't access without, tearing up the ground in that area. And discovered that they're not failing, but they are deteriorating, and it was recommended to the engineer that we get those lined. We felt that during this large project that we have coming up, that we included in competitive pricing, ideal pricing for that
So
job.
that's between the homeowner's property and the new sewers that we put in?
So these pipes are from the inlets on Bay Drive.
Okay.
The ones that are at the end of 12th and 13th Street respectively, and they run from those inlets right down the property lines to the seawalls.
Okay.
So-
You don't have to pull up the street again, do you?
No, they'll go through the manhole. It's exactly what they're doing to the actual sewer system the county's doing right now with those trucks. They'll run cure-in-place piping through the pipes.
Is there anything that we as homeowners are supposed to do to prepare for this, or will we get a notice of some kind, or does it matter?
We will send out a notification to our constant contact to let you know when they're in the area, because typically when we do our stormwater projects, we do door hangers to notify all the residents in those areas that something's about to occur. But I can't say exactly. We'll know during the construction phase when they plan on moving over and doing the lining of those streets, and then we can give.
Are we talking years down the
No.
pike again, or?
No, it'll last maybe 2 days, probably even one.
The company that didn't work on our street just did a superlative job. I mean, they came back, they fixed anything that was wrong, and they did it in like a record time, so.
I hope to have a bit on these next project.
Okay. Just surprised to hear there is still anything left to do.
Yeah, so it'll be seamless, should take a matter of days.
Okay.
And then from there, everything will be ready.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Durham. Any other questions or comments from the citizens concerns? No? All right. So before we begin debate on this, we're going to need a motion on this authorization to execute a purchase order with Gemini Engineering. Would someone like to make a motion?
So moved.
Motion made by Lloyd Roberts. Would someone like to second that?
Second.
Second by Jody Shirley, Vice Mayor Shirley. Mr. Roberts, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mayor. I think this is the appropriate path we're taking, which is excellent. We're going to have one engineering firm come in and review the BMPs that are already in place by a previous engineering firm. Is that correct? In addition to the new areas to be designed. So this will be a great opportunity for the city, as well as anybody on this council who wants to be involved, to make sure that we review that, work with the city manager to be comfortable that the direction that the city is going, as Kyle mentioned earlier, is the most cost-effective process that we'll be pursuing. So I think it's a great idea. I'm very happy this is the direction we're going, and I think it's best for the city.
Thank you. Other comments or questions?
I have a question. I noticed that Gemini is at Jacksonville. Do they have local offices?
Yes, an office in St. Petersburg.
Okay. We have other bids from other local engineers?
Not for this project. The way our agreement is set up, we can't actually competitively bid engineering services because it's prohibited by the CCMA.
So I noticed this is Larry Flutie again. Are you
Yeah,
comfortable with
he'll be the principal, and that his other staff during the RFQ interview process.
There is staff, so I know
Yes.
there's been some delays in the past using him, and he's got staff to support him.
Yes.
Mr. Riegler, will they also be making recommendations on the logical order that this project should be rolled out?
Yes, it'll be designed as best as possible when we lay out the plans and it's bid on, because let me check into that because I don't know the extent we can tell the construction company to do, or how that will affect the bidding process, so I need to think that.
Okay, the reason why I ask is I just would hate to attack small problems in front of big problems. And I don't think it would be in our best interest to attack the bigger problems first unless it's just this huge financial burden to do that.
So the project construction phase is proposed to be 365 days. We can try to tighten that up when we actually go out to bid. The intention is to get it done as quickly as possible, but the contractors don't want to. So the exact order, again, to talk to the engineer and be done about that.
My fear is we've got this stack of projects and storm season is approaching, and there's someone more in need than someone else. And I would prefer that, I think probably everyone, if it's not a big, like I said, a huge financial burden, to attack those lower lying areas first. Any other questions or comments on this? No? All right, well, Mr. Roberts.
So I would like to point out, based on what the mayor just said, which is very accurate, that we're not asking for the design to be completed by August the 15th, right?
So
For the engineering firm.
the timeline is we're expecting to have everything ready to advertise for bid by mid-August.
Right.
So that it'll go out, we're looking at 5-6 weeks, to make sure we have some bills for that, and then, tabulations, bringing to me for selection. I'm hoping construction starts late fall.
Right, and that's my point of bringing that up. So by then, the storm season theoretically is done.
Right.
Which would be great timing from the construction standpoint, so that when they start the construction, hopefully we won't have any hurricanes at that point. So,
What do you mean by late fall?
November.
Because the last 2 years, we had two pretty good sized storms in the first 2 years.
it can happen.
Yeah. And the residents that spoke, they had the perfect timing when they had their streets done, because it was during the dry season. So I think November 15th, anything before November 15th, I think we're rolling the dice. Is the engineering firm going to be coming into any of these work sessions that we're having to discuss?
My intention to have them do at least one presentation. There's some Q&A.
Any other questions or comments, Mr. Roberts?
I'm not an insurance expert by any stretch, but on the insurance from the engineering firm, is there any way we can ask them about errors and omission insurance to be included on the contract with them, that they have that, just in case we run across something where that would be beneficial to the city?
I can investigate it. All the insurance is laid out in the actual RFQ agreement in the contract, but I can speak with Mr. Morris' colleague, who I've been working with on that.
Thank you.
Last call for questions or comments. All right. Patty, let's take this to a vote. This is for authorization to execute a purchase order with Gemini Engineering and Sciences, Inc. for Stormwater Master Drainage Plan BMPs. Patty?
Councilmember Baker,
Yes.
Councilmember Livingstone,
Yes.
Councilmember Notaro,
Yes.
Councilmember Roberts,
Aye.
Councilmember Zabel,
Aye.
Vice Mayor Shirley,
Aye.
Mayor Gaddis.
Aye. And so it passes unanimously. Ms. Reed, you are authorized to execute. Thank you. All right. We're on to my favorite item tonight, item number 15. This is for consideration of merit pay increase for city clerk based on annual evaluation criteria. This was placed on the agenda by City Manager Reed. Mr. Reed.
Thank you, Mayor. So I compiled all the evaluations that were filled out by the council members and did a tabulation of how the scoring turned out. believe we had one that, didn't have every category, but I weighed it out to make sure that we averaged the overall scoring to reflect what Ms. Gentry has received in her evaluations. So I hope in sending that to you, it was easily understood. If you have any questions, please let me know. I can answer them.
All right, before we get to the council, let's go to the citizens for comments. Would anyone like to comment on this particular agenda item? No? All right. Back to the council, but I'm going to need a motion on this.
Motion.
Motion made by Frank Baker. Do I have a second?
Second.
Wow. All in favor of, no, okay, so I'm going to give that one to Mike Simmons. All right, Mr. Baker, you have the floor.
What if you read that proclamation, which I applaud you, I don't know, 5%'s enough. If that's the proposal in front of us, I think you should get it.
Thank you, Mr. Baker. Anyone else like to comment? No? All right, I agree with Mr. Baker. I think that it's well-deserved and fully justified. If there are no other comments from the council, I'd like to go ahead and call the vote. Okay, all right, Patty?
Councilmember Baker,
Yes.
Councilmember Livingstone,
Yes.
Councilmember Notero,
Yes.
Councilmember Roberts,
Aye.
Councilmember Zabel,
Aye.
Vice Mayor Shirley, aye. Mayor Cavas.
Aye, and so it passes unanimously. Congratulations, Ms. Gentry, and thank you for all you do.
Thank you all very much.
Mr. Mayor, I think we should ask, we discussed this last month, all the schools weren't in, this was retro to our anniversary date.
I think that's what we discussed. Yes. All right, we're on to general business, item number 16. Do we have any general business to discuss? Okay. We will move right along to council comments. Since we're doing random orders and we're moving chairs around, I've given the computer a rest this month. And we're going to begin from my left to right. And so we'll begin with Lloyd Roberts.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So I'm so happy that I got to move to this side now.
It does last.
I would like to thank our city manager for setting up a meeting with the Pinellas County Transportation Division. I think it went very well. They came with 2 staff members from the county along with their traffic consultant that they've worked with before, that we have worked with before. So the plan is now the consultant's going to go back to the drawing board and gather more data since the last time that they did the study. I think it's interesting that the first time they did the study was right around the end of this COVID time. So we all know that the traffic was significantly impacted by that. So I think we'll get some very different numbers when they do the study again. The county's picking up the tab for that, so we don't have any expenditures for that. And I think they're anticipating to come back, what was the time frame now? Approximately.
I thought they were telling us about 3 to 4 months.
Okay. So at that time, we'll have a better idea of what some of the options are regarding what will impact the traffic on Gulf Boulevard and Causeway Boulevard as well. To be able, the goal is to just make it better. It's never going to be perfect, but I'm confident we can make it better, and that's what we're taking a look at right now. So just wanted to bring everybody up to speed on that. Just a little interesting side note. I would have lost a lot of money on this bet. We actually had conversations in the meeting about the various crosswalks that we have up here on Causeway Boulevard and Gulf Boulevard. I would have bet all the money I have and all the money that Dave has that there were 2 crosswalks on the north and south side of Causeway Boulevard. And there's not. There's just one on the north side. So my wife and I were walking the beach the other day, and we had to cut up sooner than we normally do because of the higher watermarks. So there's not one on that side. So that's going to factor in, I think, somewhat, Kyle, with regards to what some of our options are to improve the turning scenarios and the traffic situation there at the intersection of Causeway and Gulf Boulevard. So that's what we're looking forward to. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Roberts. All right, let's move on to Leslie Matero.
No further comments?
Okay, well, I'm going to comment for you. Ms. Matero will be standing in for me at the Mayor's Council this Friday because I won't be able to attend. I have a prior engagement. It's a charity event, and they're actually doing a piece on my deceased mother-in-law. So I appreciate you going in for me, and I'm sure everyone will be happy to see you there.
All right, let's move on to Councilmember Livingstone.
Good evening, Patty. Thank you for all that you do. This is your week. Celebrate it. Thank you. We had a wonderful day on Wednesday, thanking all of our committee members, and it was such a great time. So again, Patty, I know you and Smothers put that together. Thank you. But thank you to all the committee members and the community. When you volunteer, it really makes a big difference, and we truly, truly appreciate it.
Thank you, Ms. Livingstone. All right, now Frank Baker.
I'm going to try to. At our last work session, I was directed to contact former Councilman Mark Barron about stepping off the flood mitigation working group. So I spoke to him, and he didn't really want to step off, but he's willing to come to speak to us at any time. I notified the city manager, he put me on it anyway. But I've worked with Senator Scott, who seems to be the only one that's really concerned, has any passion for what FEMA did to people that live on barrier islands and everything like that. When they changed in October of 2021, if you remember, our former city manager gave a presentation on FEMA 2.0. I'm sorry.
I didn't tell people.
So since the beginning of last year, I had residents come up to me and tell me, geez, my flood insurance doubled. Okay, I have to drop it. I don't want to take the words out of Senator Scott's mouth, but he had a hard press meeting with the FEMA director, I think it was December or November of last year, and he says, you're putting my constituents at the point right now, should we get insurance because of the retirees that live in Florida, or eat? You know, that's the choices they're going to have. On top of that, our state legislation had an emergency session last year regarding citizens' wind. And Bill 2A actually now says your wind policy must meet your flood policy. So whatever your flood policy says, your wind policy has to meet. They also said any structure that's valued over $700,000 to replace, they're not going to cover it. So you're going to have to go to the private market to find coverage on that. So it's just a total mess. So I was able to get a three-way conversation from DC and Senator Scott's office here last Wednesday. We went over all this, and then I got another address Friday morning about a resident saying, hey, my flood insurance, I can't afford it, it almost doubled. So I got into it. I went into Assurance as one of the underwriters for the NFIP. And I said, I cannot find the discounts that we're supposed to get. Because if you look at 2.0, just the first page of 2.0 will tell you your elevation, which is located, but most of those all have elevation certificates. And if you don't, you should get them. It'll tell you your highest level and your lowest level. And I think on section C, it'll say discounts. So I said, it's given a $15 discount, and the house is 4 feet above sea level. So she says, I think the $15 discount is because your city complied with all the regulations in 2021, which I said, I think we spent over $1 million to comply with that. That's why I get us a $15 discount. She says, well, let me look at it. she couldn't find an explanation. So then when she started saying about the discounts of, you know, why isn't there, because at 1 foot you should get 10%, at 2 foot you should get 20%, and so on. I said, why isn't there discounts noted on that? So she says, I think the math formula is this. And she says, no, that doesn't make sense. So then she gave me a 400-page manual that FEMA came out with, okay, explaining discounts, which she couldn't explain. So she then told me to contact FEMA, which I did. They gave me the NFIP, and I went right to them. They told me to go to the National Flood, what was it, Insurance Agency. Gave me their toll-free number, located in the Philippines. This is a joke, but it's costing us a fortune. So after 20 minutes, and I'm not trying to be disrespectful or anything, explaining what I wanted from this person in the Philippines, what the name would be, I asked to speak to the manager, on hold for 15 minutes, and got disconnected. So I contacted the senator again this morning, but this is a problem that a lot of people, especially senior citizens with fixed incomes, are saying, I can't afford to insure my house anymore. And plus, I'm not going to get into the homeowners issue. I appreciate, I'm just trying to paraphrase all this. I'm looking at it, I'm working on it, I'm trying to come up with an answer.
It's completely understandable, your frustration. I've sat in on several meetings where they were trying to give us some sort of a formula, and no one actually knows. What I can tell, based on what I've seen, is that this is an obscene wealth tax. I mean, that they really can't tell you where the extra money is going to, nor what it's for. I think the goal is to hurt people and put them out of business so that those are foreclosed on or sold, knocked down, and then built up for something else.
So what my main concern should be everybody is if these insurance premiums go to, and I'm talking $10,000, $15,000, $25,000 for a typical home, $700,000. You're not going to find people able to purchase a home, and the values are just going to go right to the floor. And that's with citizens, that's not even with the NFIP. And most of these private flood markets now want to bail on us. It's a mess. And there is a clean formula in 2.0, but nobody wants to apply.
I've yet to see or hear anyone actually explain it properly. I think it's just too complex.
400 pages.
And they don't want you to know what that is. Any other comments, Mr. Baker? I appreciate all your research.
I'm trying.
All right, let's go to Mike Zabel.
Yes, thank you to Councilman Baker for trying down the bottom of that. I really appreciate that. But other than that, I have no comments.
Thank you very much, Mr. Zabel. All right, let's go to Vice Mayor Shirley.
Nothing further for me.
Okay, I guess it's left to me. First off, I'd like to thank those who came out and had coffee with the mayor the other morning. It was a nice meeting with you and having some interesting conversations. I'd also like to commend the Bel Air Beach Community Foundation for their hard work, along with all who have volunteered to contribute or contributed to their efforts. I'd also like to thank all those who currently serve on the committee or board in Bel Air Beach. It's always safe to just sit in on and complain on social media, but it gets very little done. Instead, each of you have done something much braver, requiring far more effort. You have donated your time, money, and talents to the city you call home. On behalf of this council and city staff, I'd like to thank you all. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
Motion adjourned.
Motion made by Frank Baker. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Vice Mayor Shirley. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed?